Welcome to the Turkey Hunter Podcast, the original all-turkey, all-the-time podcast with your co-hosts Andy Galliano and Cameron Weddington.
In our weekly podcast, we're going to bring you some wild turkey calling tips like this.
From there, we're going to go into, she's aggravated, there's another hen that's challenged her, or she's challenging another hen, she's going to cut an excited yelp.
Advice from old pro turkey hunters like this.
The turkeys typically don't like, I think, more times than not, to travel in an easterly direction into the sun first thing in the morning, especially after he gets up. It's a blinding thing. It's just like you. It's hard for you to see into the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have a choice, I'm going to try to make it so that I'm going to be on the west side in the morning, east side in the afternoon of a turkey.
Exciting live hunts like this.
Holy crap, they're coming. Holy cow. Oh, God.
Then we're going to teach you how to cook your bird with advice such as this.
With some fresh rosemary and garlic, and then cool that off and spread that along the inside of that butterflied turkey breast that we've seasoned on both sides.
Wildlife management tips for your property, especially with turkeys like this.
If you look at the type of habitats that turkeys need for nesting and brooding, that tends to be habitat that can be managed more successfully with growing season fire than with dormant season fire.
And hopefully along the way, we'll get plenty of these.
Well, on November the 28th of 1953, I was hatched. When I popped out of my mom and the baby doctor spanked me on the bottom, I went, oh! And I've been doing it ever since.
I like that.
Thank you for tuning in. And now, for this week's show. Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of the Turkey Hunter Podcast. You are listening to episode, I don't have a clue what number it is because it's been so long since we did one. And I am your co-host and the guy who has been to Reno, Chicago, Fargo, Minnesota, Buffalo, Toronto, Winslow, Sarasota, Wichita, Tulsa, Ottawa, Oklahoma, Tampa, Panama, Mattawa, La Paloma, Bangor, Baltimore, Salvador, Amarillo, Tocopilla, Bangarilla, and Perdilla. I'm a killer.
That was impressive.
I messed up 2 times, but it wasn't too bad.
Better than I could have done.
So what have you been doing?
Man, I'm your co-host, the guy that doesn't really have a good excuse as to why we haven't been on here.
Oh, man. Unfortunately, I do. So
Yeah.
this has been all me for those of you who are wondering. So we'll backtrack just a little bit.
I wouldn't say it's all you. I would say I disagree with it. It's been a joint effort.
Well, I guess, we probably owe a few people an explanation because I know some people have reached out and on social media, text messages, on and on and on, phone calls. Hey, are you guys done? What's the deal?
Yeah.
And
we
the
are
deal,
both still healthy and alive.
we
just to
are.
make that clear.
Yeah. I kind of wish that I'd been detained in Australia, but that didn't happen. But yeah, it's been a wild several months for me. So just kind of fill everybody in. My dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer back in August. Been dealing with that some. And he's doing very well with his treatments. By the way, his PSA has come from 30 down to 3 and some change. So appreciate any prayers you guys want to offer for Charles Galliano. That's very much appreciated. And, there could be radiation in his near future. So we just have to kind of see how that goes and what the doctors recommend. He's doing so well with the treatments that, I'm hoping that he won't need radiation. But, I'm no expert in this manner. So been dealing with that. Then work has just absolutely exploded. So I'm going to do some quick math here. I am at 1 3/4, so 175% of my maximum capacity for loan volume right now. So that's
great.
been, I know I'm not complaining about it. That's been crazy because we went from almost zero to doing 175% of where I kind of draw the line. And I let that sneak up on me. It was like I was sitting in my office Tuesday and I'm like, man, we just seems like we have a lot of loans. And I started putting them on the board and that we used to keep up with them all because I'd fallen behind on that, and started counting them. And I'm like, holy cow, we're way over capacity. So been dealing with that. I've been dealing with the state banking auditors who came in and they do a biannual audit. Since I own a mortgage company, they come in and do that every 2 years, just part of SOP. And that's over as of today. And so, man, there's been a lot going on,
Yeah.
So hoping to catch up here very soon.
Man, yeah. Well, we're back. Everybody, we are still going to continue. We've taken quite a hiatus. Appreciate anybody that comes back with us to listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had which we'll air some episodes about New Zealand. That was kind of where our podcast ended.
Yeah.
And my gosh, what an A+ excellent time that was. Seems
No
like
doubt.
It was a year ago right now.
That's true too.
It was awesome. I had a fabulous fall turkey season.
Yeah, you did.
Got my fall gobbler and had a freaking awesome hunt. I mean, it was terrible. No, hold on. Let me back that. It was terrible. Fall turkey hunting sucks, man. So
You just
anyway,
deer hunted a turkey and shot one over the feeder. So, I mean, just go ahead and tell everybody that's what happened.
He came by, his snood was shriveled up. He's all sad, just moped by, and I happened to shoot him.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what went down, but that's how it all happens. That's the fall for you. It was a hen, There's the fall. But in other news, I have deer hunted for the first time in the past decade. I don't think I've deer hunted since before college, and that's been interesting. It's been okay. It's boring as heck compared to turkey hunting, but hey, at least I'm still getting in the woods.
Yeah.
That's been interesting. I've got a deer I'm trying to kill, and it's kind of fun playing cat and mouse with him. He's the cat, I'm the mouse so far. He's still not on the dinner table yet, but we'll see what happens. My neighbor will probably have him in the freezer very soon.
He's got a GPS tracker on your truck. I'm telling you. He knows when you're at home, and he's not coming anywhere near your place when you're home.
I'm going to name him Santa Claus. He knows when I'm asleep, and he knows when I'm awake.
Yeah. He's got a trail camera on you.
Yeah.
You got a trail camera on him, and he's got a trail camera on you. Y'all are watching each other.
Yeah, I got a pretty funny picture of him this morning I sent to Andy because I hunted yesterday morning, didn't see jack squat, and I've hunted, probably 5 times, trying to wait and hunt like a win and all that stuff. Mostly just going when I can go is more so the deal. And I hadn't hardly seen anything. This morning, get a picture. You can see my ground blind about 30 yards behind the buck just standing there at 7:30 a.m. Broad daylight. They might as well have gone over and made a rub on the ground blind.
Broadside to the ground blind, smiling for the camera.
Yeah, if he had a middle hoof, he would have held it up into the camera.
I believe you're right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But anyway, so we've had a good fall, ready for duck season. Glad to be getting Turkey Hunter podcast back rolling. I think we got a really interesting first show back here.
Yeah, we do.
So we've got Carl Ray on. Many of you, if you're not on Facebook, you probably are going to be aware of who this is. But if you're on Facebook, kind of got a following on Facebook. He's a very, I'll say, controversial figure on the Facebook. And we've had several requests to have Carl Ray on the show. So we did it.
Yeah.
We had him on, and I'll just say in the front end of this, I thought it was a great interview, and not at all kind of what I would have expected from what you see on Facebook.
It is very unlike the character you see on Facebook, and it was a good interview. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I absolutely did. And so, you know, don't throw any shade towards us for having the guy on. Somebody that's Carl Ray and his Facebook, and you know, he is a good turkey hunter. I believe that, and I think he's very knowledgeable about wild turkeys, and that's the kind of people we want on the show. And we love having characters of all shapes, sizes, disciplines. You know, we interview everybody. So,
A lot of truth. Well, what do you think? You want to jump in and go with it?
let's do it. We'll see you guys on the other.
Hey, everybody. Cameron and I are glad to tell you we have on the phone with us today the one and only Carl Ray. And Carl has got quite the following on social media currently, and we have had a few suggestions to get Carl Ray on and chit chat with him about turkeys and turkey hunting. Here we are. Carl Ray, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to join us, and hopefully we can have a pretty cool discussion. I'm looking forward to digging in deep with you on a few things.
Yes, sir. I'm always open for talking turkey. Like I tell everyone, my first love was a redhead. He had a 10-inch beard, an 1.5 inch spurs.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, so tell us a little bit about yourself, because I'm sure there's some people out there that, you know, a lot of us people who hunt or don't really spend a whole lot of time on social media, that kind of thing. We work and we go home and spend time with the family and pay our bills and then get up the next morning to do the same thing all over again. For those of you those who are listening who may not know Carl Ray, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I grew up right here, walking these hills and hollers around Baaaaaccccckk Swamp. Grew up hunting. I was fortunate enough to be born in a time. I was born in 1974. I got to see the heyday of the wild turkeys throughout the 80s, and I've seen the changes, which it'll almost bring a tear to your eye when you think about how much the turkey hunting has changed because of human encroachment. Of course, increased predators, that plays a lot into the equation, but anytime you have human encroachment, you build malls where you once hunted, golf courses are now where you once hunted, subdivisions, and all your birds are funneled down to smaller acreages. Well, they last 2 or 3 years because the predators move in, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you something. Anytime these birds are funneled down, all of a sudden, the predators, they're going to have a field day. Easy ambushing. Turkeys and predators, they can't coincide within small acreage. Turkeys are very nomadic. They must be nomadic. Through the spring and summer, winter and fall months, they can't run out there to the buffet and get everything they need. They have to move around, and they need different terrain through the spring and summer, winter, fall months to survive. And if they can't be nomadic, guess what? That's a recipe for disaster.
When did you start turkey hunting? How old were you?
I was turkey hunting following my dad at the age, I'm going to say around 1980. Killed my first bird in 1983, caught it up with a jet lynx slate on my own after walking miles down the railroad tracks. And my dad, he was like, I saw some jakes here yesterday. Go set up there, and I'm going to go on down the gas line. And I had no longer sat down. Hit the little series of yips on that little jet slate. Thunderous gobble from behind me, and this is in the evening time. It's 3:30, 4 o'clock in the evening, and I stand up, being unexperienced. I stand up, turn around, the gobbler's putting and throwing his head, and it's definitely not a jake. I can remember the hooks. We didn't measure those hooks back then. I remember how big the bird was, huge beard, huge body, huge hooks. But we didn't measure hooks back then. My dad, it was all about the beard, as a lot of the old timers would tell you. They'd cut the beard off, and they said, boy, that's a fine beard. That's all they'd say. Or that's a big one. That's a fine beard. They didn't keep spurs too much back in the day.
Yeah.
I'm more of a spur man myself.
Yes. Yeah.
I know you are as well.
My dad, I mean, like I say, he was diehard turkey hunter. I mean, he lived for it. Him, my uncles, my aunts, everyone just come from a hunting family. And from opening day of dove season in September, I mean, it was happy times. Yeah. Dove season, squirrel, it didn't matter. We were walking them hills and hollows of Oklahoma Swamp.
And so you just started out turkey hunting as soon as you were old enough to tag along, essentially. So your dad, Did your dad start when he was young?
Well, my dad, there wasn't many turkeys back then.
Yeah.
There wasn't that many. And so mostly squirrel and deer, and they were having to travel to certain areas of the county up around our area, a place called Mathersville, where there was actually a significant deer herd, and started out from there. And, you know, it didn't take the deer long to explode the population. Like I say, I was fortunate enough to grow up on a dead-end road a mile long on my granddad's farm, and we didn't have neighbors. We had 0 neighbors. I could stand on my porch, our front porch, 1 week before turkey season any given year on a clear morning, and I would hear turkeys in every direction but one. So I kind of followed the birds around. I followed them around because I was always in the woods with my BB guns, fishing poles growing up. So I'd follow these birds around. I seen what they were doing. I've watched them long enough to know what they need and where were these birds at? Where are they located in the springtime? Where are they located in the summertime? And I will say this, spring and summer, if a gobbler's there in the spring and summer, he's going to continue to be there till the mass crops begin to fall in the hardwood bottoms in our neck of the woods. And then they would head for the swamps, of course, and, you know, feeding on the first acorns were always the red oaks. And like I say, throughout the fall and winter months, they're around the swamps. People didn't put out corn. I didn't realize corn was sold in bags for deer. So we didn't see turkeys at our deer feeders because we didn't have deer feeders. I didn't know there was such thing as corn that you could buy in bags. I mean, I probably would have killed more deer, but we killed some good deer. But like I say, we didn't have cell cameras. We only seen the turkeys through our own encounters with these birds throughout the winter as they flew up to roost, or they was coming down the side of the hills, walking the ridges or scratching. Squirrel season taught me a lot about these birds. So we didn't get to take inventory back in those days on deer or turkey. No cell cameras, nothing. But at the same time, looking back, I think we came too fast. You know, modern innovation, it's kind of took some fun out of the deer hunting, you know, because everyone's got smaller tracts of land to hunt. Same with turkeys. I mean, the turkeys gobbling across the property line, and for some reason, they're always going to roost on the property line. I guess it's because the trees are huge there because of the property line, and it seems like they roost on the property line, and they usually pitch down the other way. But like I say, that's I grew up in a time when opening morning of squirrel season, we all gathered at my grandma's around her fireplace, that old fireplace, and opening morning of squirrel season. And I mean, turkey season was it was something else too, but squirrel season, we would all gather around the old fireplace telling stories, you know, as we headed to the swamp. Those kids, we sitting there, man, our eyes are filled with, such anticipation, listening to the stories of our uncles, our dads, and even my aunts that hunted, telling our stories and the memories of yesteryear. And, man, us kids, we were ready. We'd had over 20-gauge 1100s in hand, counting our shells, and ready to head to the squirrel woods. Same thing. It's opening morning of turkey season. We're all gathered around that old fireplace thinking about where each one of us is going. And my dad and my uncle, they would actually stop talking maybe a month before turkey season. You wouldn't hear much from them, and they got kind of sneaky in their ways. They didn't reveal too much because they were all after a big bird in different areas. So the next time you seen them, they were driving up with a gobbler in the back of their truck. So
I can relate to that. Got a little secretive all of a sudden before season.
Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yep.
But we did more of that these days.
I know, but meeting at that old fireplace, man, that was something, and it didn't matter what season it was. And like I say, in turkey season, we would all head out in different directions, and most of the time we didn't know where the next was going. But the times they've changed so much, and it's not a lot of the little man. I mean, if he doesn't hunt government woods, if he hasn't learned to hunt the government woods, that's all he has. And it's not. Back in the day, there was such an abundance of birds. Most anywhere throughout each of these counties, you could go in your backyard or down the road, you would hear a bird. And now it's not that way. So a lot of people actually stopped turkey hunting because they were so used to grow. Like my dad, for example, he grew up, where you hunted everywhere. You just pulled over and you went hunting. No one cared about a turkey. They would look at you crazy if you mentioned a turkey. And this even went on through the 80s and all. And I'm going to say around 99 to 2000, all of a sudden, people were interested in turkeys, and you weren't allowed to hunt here, you weren't allowed to hunt there. But back in the day, man, you had the heyday of the 80s is what I called it. You had the ultimate habitat for the eastern wild turkey. No matter if it was the spring and summer months, fall and winter months, you had everything they need. And people still trap predators back then. I mean, when I say predator, they trapped coons, and that was a big deal back then.
Did you start turkey hunting during the fall, or did you? I know Mississippi had a fall season for a long time, but I didn't know.
No, that wasn't here in South Mississippi. We've never had a fall season in South Mississippi. Now, I think there might have been, like you say, one or two counties in the northern part of the state where you could take a fall turkey of either sex, but no, we've never had a fall season down here. And like I say, that you could talk about. I ain't saying we ain't never eaten a Thanksgiving turkey before.
Sure.
But times were different back then, man. Like if you were squirrel hunting, a buck comes out, you shoot it, and if someone saw you, they're going to help you drag the deer out, and this is no lie. But times have definitely changed. As far as turkey hunting goes, it's definitely changed because the turkeys are forced into smaller acreage, and that's a recipe for disaster because you got all your predators there too, and they know where the food is. And those turkeys need to move around. That's what I can't stress enough. Turkeys are nomadic. They need to be able to move around throughout the different seasons. And if they're not allowed to do that, I mean, your populations are not going to survive.
I do think one thing, you kind of mentioned that's really changed, I'm only 30 years old, so I haven't lived through all that, but I read a lot of books from a lot of Mississippi, Alabama, southern books, people hunting, back in the 80s, 70s before then. And these timber companies used to, you go get a $5 permit, it sounded like, and you go hunt their 50, 100,000 acres or whatever it would be. And amount of access was just unbelievable. And I do feel like that's changed significantly because the timber companies have figured out they can do private leases and things like that and make a lot of money doing that instead of, having these either free or cheap little permits people would buy.
Exactly. And when the timber boom came on, during the 80s, late 80s, I'm going to say around our area, I mean, before that, you had 100-year-old trees, hardwood everywhere. I mean, you had vast expansions of timber. You could actually get lost back in those days. I mean, there weren't four-wheeler trails everywhere. You would use old logging roads, old dummy lines to travel from point A to point B. And you're right. You heard of maybe one or two hunting clubs around, but these clubs have been around since the 60s. Now, you didn't hear of leased land back then. Land wasn't leased. All the timber company land, you bought the little permit and you were free to hunt it. And there were vast expansions. And our 60 acres, it joined thousands of acres. So I grew up in the perfect area: deer, turkey, duck, squirrel, pretty much everything. Quail. The quail were still in good abundance till around 1990. There was a good abundance of them, but it wasn't like it was in the 70s, I'm sure, because I wasn't born in 74. So, but there were so many coveys of quail around our house up in the sagebrush fields and all. My granddad, he farmed everything. And in the winter months, a lot of those fields would grow up in sagebrush. He had the fence rows and all, and they had the briars on the fence rows. It was nothing to jump coveys of quail it didn't matter what you were hunting. Yeah. But all those days are gone, and habitat loss along with human encroachment is, in my opinion, that's why we're seeing such a decline in ground nesting birds, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I know my area for the quail specifically, I feel like the center pivots were the last nail in the coffin. All these, they got rid of every tree line in the field so they could put the pivots in and water their crops, which, hey, that's their livelihood. I get it. But quail needed the tree lines.
Yes. Back in the 80s, you had the old timers, they had seen hard times, and all of them had small gardens. Everyone had at least small 1 acre, 2 acre, 3 acre gardens at their home. Everyone, no matter where you drove up and down the roads, everyone's got a garden. Well, you're plowing up that fresh dirt and all. Every year providing food for the quail. You got your fence rows, and people didn't keep everything pristine back then. We didn't own a weed eater. We didn't spray. People didn't spray and kill all the briars on the fence rows and everything where the quail loved to roost. And now we've got so particular, and we want everything to look like a golf course. If we see a dead tree behind our house, not behind our house, let's just say it's on 100 acres, there's a dead pine. Well, we're not going to sleep at night till we cut that pine. What we're not realizing, those hollow trees like that, wood ducks, they'll nest in those holes, pileated woodpeckers. I mean, different, so many songbirds, everything. But we've tried to, I think we have try too hard to make everything look like a golf course. And that's fine with our yards, but we're treating the woods, and we won't stay out of the woods. We're steadily cutting, burning, and burning is good, in the February. But don't run in there in April and burn and decide you want to do a prescribed burn in April. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster if you're doing large acreage. You don't know how many hens are nesting.
I tend to agree with you. I've heard all the biologists claim that's a good thing, but
it's a great thing to prescribe burning in February because, man, by April, I mean, it's already coming back. And by the time those poults hit the ground in May and in June, man, you got all the sunlight's reached the ground and you got lush vegetation up under those trees and providing grasshoppers and all. It's good, but in proportion, you can't run out there and do 1,000 acres at one time. When it's upland area and hens are nesting in that area, I could understand if it was lowland swamp, but that's not good on the turkey population. Another thing that's not good is the hay field. Like, farmers are going to cut their hay. They're not going to put a turkey over their cows getting fed. But for some reason in South Mississippi, and it's always been this way, I'm going to say 50% at least of your hens think they got to go to that hay field and this perfect nesting cover, and it's perfect for the young poults when, as soon as they're hatched, they're in a great area where there's an abundance of grasshoppers, everything, and in the hay fields. But it's not good on the local turkey population, I can tell you that.
Yeah, no, not at all. I've talked to many landowners who aren't, turkey hunters and stuff. Usually if they're a turkey hunter, they know not to mow, but, they're like, man, I mowed my field of crushed 5 nests I saw out there. And
I know.
Like, golly, that kills me.
Yep, and the bigger the hay field, the more nest, even hens, a lot of them are rotted out, and a lot of those get hit, but that's not that big a deal as far as the hens getting hit. It's with the tractors if they get killed, but if they're on eggs, man, I mean, you're losing 12, 13, 14, 15 poults, whatever at a time. At least 8. Based on the nest I found, there's at least 8 eggs per nest.
Yeah, the average probably 12. And Craig
12.
Harper and Bueller did a study, I think, in East Tennessee here, and I think it was over 10% of the nests that were destroyed by hay.
Yeah,
so there's 10% increase in turkeys if you just don't hay.
I know, because it's prime. All their needs are met. That hen, she's not going to nest in those low-lying swamps. She's not going to do it. She's going to upland and nest, and she comes into that hay field, and that hay is just the right size that she can get down in and walk to her turkey. People don't realize that they're not going to walk hundreds and hundreds of yards to their nest. They'll fly a short distance from their nest, then they'll walk the rest of the way. That's what's instilled in their mind, and it keeps predators away because, let's face it, turkeys stink. A wet turkey really stinks. By them walking a short distance to their nest, and that helps a lot that they do that, and I've seen them do it.
Yeah. What do you think about, Mississippi's one of the last states that has not delayed their season. Tennessee, sadly, delayed the heck out of ours 2 weeks. Y'all have kept your March 15 opener, for a long time. What are your thoughts on these other states keep delaying season, thinking it's going to, increase breeding and all this stuff?
Well, I can say this for Mississippi. Our hens are getting bred. Are they living? The poults getting killed? Yeah. Are the eggs getting destroyed, whether it's by human, by us mowing, by predators, or by fire? Yes. But the hens are getting bred. You look at states like Louisiana. I mean, were there once such a great abundance of wild turkey? Well, these areas right here, there's so many hunters, the supply versus demand. I'm going to say supply versus demand. Anytime that demand's greater than supply of turkeys, that's a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for total extinction on that property before long. It can only go for so long, but there's so many hunters trying to hunt certain areas that have suitable populations of birds on the government lands in Louisiana. And one thing I don't agree with, why would you, with your population so low in Louisiana, continue to allow people to shoot jakes? I'm thinking a year or two ago, I've said it for 15 years. They should have, that Mississippi was smart on that. But, years ago, no jakes. But we weren't shooting jakes anyway. I mean, Mississippi's birds are going to get bred. Other states, like Louisiana, I will say this, their numbers are so low that, yes, by pushing that season back, that is going to help. Because let's say you got one gobbler in an area, you got 4 or 5 hens. You don't want that gobbler to get killed on opening day before he can breed those hens. So it does help in that aspect. But Mississippi birds are going to get bred. We got such vast habitat. I'm telling you, Mississippi is so wooded, and I mean, turkeys are not confined. And, you know, we got some great areas to hunt, and our hens are getting bred. We have good hatches every year, or they start out with good hatches. A lot of the poults get killed by predators, you know, until they get to that, you know, couple of weeks in when they can fly and pitch up on those low limbs and all, and then they still got to deal with hawks, red-tailed hawks. But yeah, that's the thing with Mississippi. We don't need it pushed back. Our hens are going to get bred. We're going to have good hatches every year. We have great habitat here in Mississippi versus other states which don't have that great habitat, which they once did, and their turkeys are kind of funneled down too much. And everybody's trying to hunt 1 or 2 gobblers. You take 15 hunters trying to hunt 1 or 2 gobblers on 1,000 acres on government land, for example. I mean, they're going to go in there, and some of those guys are going to sit with them all day waiting for them to come back to roost. I mean, they're diehard hunters, and you kill that one gobbler, your hen, where's she going to get bred? I mean, but I think it does play a part. But as far as Tennessee, I don't see that, man. I don't see why it would need to be pushed back because those hens are getting bred. Y'all have
the hens on the properties I hunt are not getting bred. Then I don't know what the deal is because there's plenty male turkeys.
Yeah. I don't know why Tennessee would go with that. But in my opinion, the only reason you would push a season back is if it was low populations and you wanted to make sure the few remaining gobblers on each property was able to breed those hens and get all the hens bred. That would be the only logical explanation.
Mm-hmm. I agree. But Andy, do you want to, we're kind of just going here. We forgot to do rapid fire Q&A, kind of break in here and do a rapid fire Q&A with Carl Ray so everybody can get to know him a little bit about his turkey hunting.
Let's do that. Yeah. We got some good info there, but let's jump in and do this rapid fire Q&A. Carl Ray, if you're up to it. And
I'm always ready.
All right. I like that. Let me pull the timer up here, and I will start the stopwatch as soon as I start the first question. We're looking for just your opinions, your preferences on things, and when it comes to turkeys and turkey hunting, and the goal is to get through it as quickly as possible. However, if there's a question that you want to just break out and take 45 minutes to answer, then take 45 minutes to answer it, and you will tie Will Primos for the longest time that it took to go through the rapid fire Q&A. But we can always come back if there's something you want to expound on a little bit. We can always come back and discuss it after rapid fire. So, all right, if you're ready, then I'm going to hit start and we'll rock and roll. Wild turkey, grilled, baked, or fried?
You got to fry it.
Wild turkey on the rocks, neat with cola or with water?
Cola.
Have you ever killed a bearded hen?
No.
Have you ever killed a jake?
Yes.
A 10-minute successful hunt on a 2-year-old or a 4-hour-long hunt with a clean miss on a 4-year-old?
Neither.
Favorite camo pattern?
Walmart.
Wild turkey legs for dinner or for the dog?
Dogs.
More or less than 3 strikers in your turkey vest?
Less.
State you killed your first turkey in?
Mississippi.
State you killed your last turkey in?
West Virginia.
Sit in a blind for 4 hours and squeeze the trigger, or run and gun for 1 hour and not shoot?
Run and gun for 1 hour and not shoot.
Field turkeys or woods turkeys?
Woods.
Pump or automatic?
Pump.
Shotgun scope, rifle sight, holographic sight or beads?
Silver bead.
Rubber boots, leather boots, or snake boots?
Any.
Favorite place you've ever hunted?
Mississippi.
Most turkeys you've ever killed in a season?
No comment.
Least number of turkeys you've ever killed in a season?
3.
Out of all the states you've hunted, which state has the most uncooperative turkeys?
Mississippi.
If you only knew how to imitate one turkey sound to call turkeys, what would it be?
Cut. Heavy cutting.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a turkey caller do you think you are?
7.
Favorite turkey hunting book?
7. No comment.
Who taught you how to turkey hunt?
My dad.
Think of the toughest turkey you've ever hunted. Did you ever kill him?
Yes.
Do you prefer long, sharp spurs or long, thick beards?
I'll take hooks.
Biggest mistake new turkey hunters make?
Bump a turkey off the limb, get too excited, they don't sit still.
Bigger fear during turkey season, snakes or spiders?
0. Snakes, I guess. Snakes.
Bigger fear during turkey season, lightning or tornadoes?
Tornadoes.
How long does turkey season last in heaven, and what is the bag limit?
How long does it last in heaven?
Uh-huh. And what's the
turkey
bag limit?
season in heaven. Oh, there's no bag limit in heaven. It's a country boy's paradise. We'll take it back to 1983.
Have you ever left a turkey hunting buddy because he or she overslept and was late?
Yep.
That is very good. I've got 3 minutes and 9.99 seconds.
Yep. I don't read too many books, so I just base everything off of my knowledge and my experiences in the woods. So I don't really take a lot of folks' opinion on, and maybe I should have growing up, but I kind of learn on my own because my dad, he didn't set me in his lap and hunt. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Daddy said, boy, we going down these railroad tracks, about a 2-mile walk. And that was my first bird. We walking 2 miles down the track, parking in this old black man's house, walking 2 miles down the railroad tracks. And all he tells me, he said, if you hear a 3-wheeler or a tractor tucked back in these woods, I said, why, Daddy? He said, just do it. I said, all right. That's the evening I killed my big bird. Well, I grew up hunting that way. It wasn't they were being greedy or anything. You just didn't set in laps back then. At an early age, I was squirrel hunting. I was walking in log roads, and Daddy told me at an early age he'd tell me at an early age, he said, boy, he said, you stay on this log road, and you won't get lost. Or if you go down to that creek, you'll remember, stay on this side of Oklahoma Creek. You got to come back upstream. He told me the landmarks to look for and what to look for to not get lost. We grew up in a different time. We grew up in a time where kids grew up early age. We was walking around at 7, 8, 9 years old, 20 gauge, then we upgraded to the 12 gauge. We grew up in a simpler time, but an easier time. And us boys, we grew up fast because we grew up around hunting and we knew how to handle guns. And we didn't worry about getting lost. Woodsmanship, that plays such a crucial role in turkey hunting. Squirrel season, I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all, I learned more about woodsmanship during squirrel season every year than any other time of the year.
Yeah.
I believe it.
I don't doubt that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you incorporate that over to come the spring season. And, for example, you didn't know the land, a turkey's gobbling, and you don't realize there's a beaver pond in between you and him. But you done been there. Squirrel season, you knew that beaver pond was there. You knew to go around, hit that ridge and go around the other side. But
yeah. Well, and I think, too, you just, we get, those of us who don't live in the country get used to city squirrels, and you can't hardly run them off. They're so used to seeing people. But a squirrel that doesn't live in the city, that's a tough critter to kill. They're good at hiding. They're good at hearing you come through the woods, and it's just tough hunting them. And I think you can just not only learn a whole lot about woodsmanship by being in the woods squirrel hunting, but you learn a lot about animals, period.
You do.
Because you're not going to just storm through the woods unless you got a squirrel dog, and a lot of times you're still not going to find them then. But
no, we didn't have squirrel dogs. Like I say, there was such an abundance of turkeys. Bogahoma's creek bottom, and Bogahoma Creek, as she winded and twisted her way all through on the hillsides, man, the white oak and the beech nut trees, they were on the hillside, and they were ancient. So that was the den trees. We learned really quick that the beech nut and the hickory, that were den trees. And, man, like I say, we walked those ridges, and them squirrels, like I say, later in the morning, man, you can hear them cutting. I mean, they were cutting on the hickory nuts and the white oaks, dropping the acorns. And what I would do, I'd find a good tree and we had vast expansions. I could walk 1,000 acres. Like, I could walk wherever I wanted to. You weren't confined. That's like you said earlier, squirrels, they're smart. They're watching. But when you got vast expansions to walk, you're just listening for barking 200 or 300 yards on down the log road. You go to the nearest group of white oaks or hickory nut trees, and you wait for 2 or 3 of them to get up in it, chasing each other and dropping hickory nuts and all. Well, you ease up under the tree and you shoot the first one, and the other ones, they start running around. You wind up killing 2 or 3 or 4 out of one tree. Then you can move on down. You hear the rest of them barking on down 300 or 400 yards. It all goes back to having vast expansions. And I'm telling you, we had vast expansions of mature hardwoods. So it wasn't nothing for us to come out of the woods with 12, 15 was very common. Any given morning of squirrel season, any given morning, 12 to 15 squirrels, because like you say, squirrels can be tough. If you're hunting them in small areas, they're going to hide behind a tree. They hear you coming. But when you keep going and following Oklahoma Creek and coming in new groups of squirrels in different areas that hadn't just heard a loud boom, you can continue to kill squirrels and fill you a sack up with squirrels, and we did.
Yeah.
I think the biggest skill, because that was the first thing I ever hunted was squirrels, same way as you're describing. Just the skill to learn to walk quietly through the woods, I feel like, is probably the best thing squirrel hunting taught me at a young age.
Right. My dad would get so aggravated.
Oh, yeah.
When I was really small, I'd follow him, and Daddy, he'd just turn around and be smoking that cigarette. He'd suck about half of it down and look back at me and say, "Boy, pick your feet up. You sound like armadillo." And I'd do good for a little while, and I'd be kind of popping limbs again, and you're just young and everything. He'd just look back at me again, and to kind of peek your ease around again. And I learned when we crossed these sloughs and all, we didn't have water boots. We just wore shoes back then in squirrel season. And when we were wading those beaver ponds and all, if we had to cross them and all, I learned real quick, don't pick your feet up then, you slide your feet. Keep from making so much racket. But our squirrel hunts quickly turned into wood duck hunts, lots of opening mornings as those first wood ducks of the season arrived, as it did with a lot of hunters. Now there's no way I'd do that. But back then, you're hunting behind your house and you have thousands of acres at your disposal. Man, you're walking that log road back home, we'd come out of the woods. I'm not saying that my uncles and all didn't come out with a gobbler, in the evenings. I ain't saying they didn't come out with wood duck. But we ate what we killed, and times were different then. Times were simpler then. And like I say, I ain't saying it's right or wrong, but hey, you shoot a buck or whatever with your 22 with them old CCI hollow points, and there's another hunter around hunting that land, and he's paid that $5 permit just like you did, just paper company land. It's nothing out of their pocket. They'll help you drag it out. No questions asked. Back then, you give them a ham or a backstrap, you good. Times have changed. People are, I want to say we're more greedy. We're living in a greedy society now, but I think it's due to the fact that the birds, whether it's birds or turkeys or whatever, everything's funneled down to smaller acreage, and everybody is in competition, and they want their kids to get out there and have the best opportunity. They want to have the best opportunity, and I get that. It's a recipe for feuding, because once everything gets funneled down and everything's leased up and you're hunting small acreage, and it ain't, I don't know if it's necessarily greed or just the fact that everyone wants, their family to have the best opportunity of harvesting a deer, turkey, or whatever the case may be. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think greed, selfishness, I think a lot of that's out there.
Look at me.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a picture for social media with the dead animal.
Yeah.
I know, man. That's one thing that bothers me. I've always taken my turkeys, and I've killed some turkeys. I've taken them, and if they were wet, I would take my wife's hairdryer, and I would have them in pristine condition. And my daddy, he'd come through smoking that cigarette. He said, "Are you gonna clean that bird, or are you gonna pet it all night?" Well, I mean, that's how much I loved them, And Daddy, he was just old school, and he'd grab them birds and I'd throw them back in the truck, and I'd get them and put them in the bag. And Daddy, he'd just give me hell. Are you gonna pet him, or are we gonna eat him? Now if I had the money, I'd get every bird in the world if I've ever killed mounted, because that's how much they've meant to me.
Yeah.
And that's just the way. And my passion is for the wild turkey, and it's just when you get to that point, and you love it. But a lot of people see the persona I play on, on my videos and all, and they just dumb redneck, he's evil, he's teaching kids to hop fences. I'm not teaching anyone to do anything. People have been hopping fences way before Carray was born, and I don't teach young kids to do anything. Like I say, I dang sure don't want them learning to hop fences, because I got to work, and they're out of school a lot more than I am, so I'm not teaching them to do anything. And people just see the persona I play, and they don't know Carray.
Yeah.
As far as your social media and all that stuff, because, people out there who are listening to this who do watch your stuff, you do have some more controversial kind of things you do on there. Like, what is kind of your goal through social media? Yours?
I want, as far as the last run-in with this guy, I want the world to know what's going on, because let's face it, when you're at a boat ramp and checked and all, and you're told to move on up, and you're putting your gun in, and a game warden just goes off hinges and threatens to whoop you, takes his gun belt off in front of 14 other boats and threatens to whip you and cusses you for everything you're worth. And I was able to remain composed enough to ask, okay, I said, okay, am I going to jail if I defend myself? He said, yeah, you'll go to jail right now. And I'm thinking, how is this fair? And that just kind of got away with me. And maybe I need to drop it, but this is the same game warden that tried to get me in trouble before. And I will say that 90% of game wardens are great people that around Mississippi. I have two good friends that are game wardens. That's what a lot of people don't realize. I don't hate game wardens. I appreciate what they're doing. But that was uncalled for him to detain me, call me back out of my truck, and tell me this choice word, it ain't effing over. We fixing to settle this in the effing sand after, and I feel like I'm being detained at this time because he tells me to get back out of the truck just so he can threaten to fight me. And that's fine if he wants to fight. But when I asked, I think it freaked him out when I was composed enough to ask, okay, am I going to jail, though, before we do this? And he said, yes. That wasn't right in so many ways. And I know his captain has called him in and talked to him about it and stuff. But the fact that I had another game warden call me and tell me to watch my back, that this guy was a loose cannon, that's when I decided, kind of my wife decided also, look, maybe we shouldn't let this go. If this other game warden's telling you this, there might be more to it than that, like they just take it so serious. And I had some other things going on. I speak at certain engagements, the Mississippi Wildlife Extravaganza in Jackson. Hundreds of thousands of people go through the doors every year. Well, they sponsor me, put me up with a table and all, and I have speaking engagements. Well, the Game and Fish Commission called the guys over the Wildlife Extravaganza and told them they were pulling all their funding. There wouldn't be any deer scored in the Magnolia Records program if they didn't get rid of me right then. So they had to call me, and they called my wife, and they said, we apologize, but they're threatening to pull our funding if we don't drop you. Same thing happened with the Southwest Extravaganza here a month ago. All summer, they had reached out to me. They had us a table. I had 2 speaking engagements, and they contacted them, and they said, if you don't drop him, we're out. We're not scoring any deer. None of our biologists will come to score any deer. And all that kind of got, it eats at you. Whether I show it or not, it ate at me for a long time. In this last episode, because they're cutting into my funding because we sell our merchandise. And I'm thinking, man, they can't be doing this. We've already ordered so much merchandise that we can't sell now to next spring because and the game wardens have no right to do that. The Game and Fish, that is not right for them to call these extravaganzas and tell them to ban me or they're going to pull all their funding. I didn't think that was right. And after this episode happened at the lake, that kind of just pushed it to the boiling point. And I thought the world needed to know just what's going on. For some reason, I just, but
I guess
it's just.
I was more so curious. Like, I understand you're going through a lot of controversy and stuff. I've seen that. But before that, like your social media platform, is your goal to be kind of like a satire, like a TK and Mike kind of deal? Or like, what's your goal through your social media? Because obviously if you're out on fences and doing all the stuff you talk about, you probably are the most targeted man in Mississippi to get a ticket. Every game warden on earth probably wants to catch you. You probably need to abide by the law.
Right. And you would think they would be smart enough to know this. But one of my buddies, he actually told me, he said, I won't never admit, he said, I'll never admit to it, but I may or may not have followed you around my first year. So what they do, the rookie game wardens, they assign them to me, and they basically go back and tell them Carray's not doing nothing wrong. I haven't had a ticket in 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
but so your persona on social media is a satire, like you're trying to just be funny.
I grew up in a different time back when you could joke about hopping a fence and everybody'd laugh at you. Nowadays, they want to shoot. I mean, it's like people take everything so personal now. And if they would just sit down and get to know me like a lot of folks have, they'd realize, man, I don't kill over my limit of birds. I mean, I try to find older birds, and I make a point to take kids hunting every year and get them involved. But, yeah, it's just, I don't know what it is about me, my persona. I think it's the fact that I'm fortunate enough to kill some big hooks every year. I think that sends people over the edge. The fact that I kill turkeys with big hooks every year.
You got spur envy?
And, yes. And like I say, I just had enough of this particular warden because he tried to get me in trouble about 5 years ago and almost succeeded in over a Facebook post. They're wanting to put me in prison for 15 years over a Facebook post. And it wasn't because of that. It was because of who I was at that time. I was getting really big on social media back then, and they had to put a stop to car ray because a lot of people just despise me and that they don't give me a chance. So if they would just, I don't, my platform is can't stop the hop, but don't take it that serious because none of us are out there hopping fences. If we were, I'm getting rid of Facebook, and these guys that are buying my decals and merchandise, they're not sticking them on their truck saying can't stop the hop, then go hop a fence. I can guarantee you that. So my followers are not doing that, despite what the Game and Fish think. Yeah. And when I say Game and Fish, I'm not speaking, I know they're one, but there's a lot of good game wardens out there and some good commissioners out there and I have great respect for those guys. But as far as the commission in whole, the Game and Fish Commission, I don't have respect for them because they let these officers get away with incidents like they did to me that happened when he dropped his gun belt. And and I was trying to put it in perspective. Why would this guy do this? Why would he try to make me fight him? Is it because he wanted to shoot me, tase me, or arrest me? But either way, that can't happen. We can't have that going on. They're held to a higher standard, and I kept my composure. But seeing that much hate come out, man, that's what it. I just wanted the world to know what was going on, and with my platform, people they're wanting to know what's going on. Why won't they leave you alone? Well, it's not really This is the game warden, and other than the Game and Fish Commission going around canceling my speaking engagements and all, I don't appreciate that at all because that's how I make some money, and that's how I get to reach out to and talk to people and get to know people, and I can instill in the younger generation how I grew up. I want to tell them about the memories of yesteryear, and even though they're not living in the heyday of the 80s, I'd like to these young people. I like to tell them, in this is your heyday. This is y'all's heyday. This is their heyday of the 80s, even though it's not the great turkey times that I grew up in. But for these young kids that's going out in the woods and they got that fire in their eyes walking behind their grandpa, let me tell you something. This is their heyday.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good point.
That's it.
And so I just want to get kids involved, and like I say, what I do on social media, they just blew it up and blew it out of proportion. And I apologize to the game warden even. I said, man, if I hurt you in any way on social media, I apologize, just trying to de-escalate the situation. But no, I want to teach people. I ain't going to say teach them. People call me all the time with questions. And of course I'm not there. I don't see the lay of the land. I can't tell them exactly what to do, but I've had a lot of people tell me what was going on and kind of describe the lay of the land and what the turkeys were doing. And some of it's just second nature to me. For example, one guy, he said, I've been going to this gas line when I get off work every evening, and turkey's stopping on the old logging road. He's gobbling there, and he's coming to the edge of it, and he won't come out in the gas line up to me. And I said, get on that log road tomorrow evening about 3 o'clock. I said, leave, do what you got to do. Get in there around 3 o'clock. You sit in the bend of that log road where you can see both ways, because he done told me there was tracks. It was the struts on. I said, get there. I said, and don't call. Wait for that turkey to come walking by and shoot. And he called me, and boy, he was excited. I owe you. I said, no, you don't owe me anything, but things that come second nature to us because we've experienced it in the turkey woods. A lot of people, and I don't get mad at anyone because some questions, they sound dumb, but they're not dumb to them. Because there's a lot of aspects in life I don't know anything about. I'm always willing to, give my advice for what it's worth if it will help them harvest a bird or kill a bird.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. That's something that's important. Just because we know it's second nature to us doesn't mean that it's second nature to everybody else, and we can't really take that for granted because just like you said, I think it's a great point. There's something that person knows that you don't know.
Exactly.
The person that asked you what you think is a stupid question, they know something you don't know. So,
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. And
yeah.
I see them arguing all the time. I got off of most of hunting pages, and I just do my own. I said, I'll just start my own page. You know, and if someone don't like me, they don't have to get on here. If you don't like what I say, you don't have to get on here and arguing to cut down on the arguing and all, because nobody's dumb. And when people ask questions, I get it. If it's someone that don't, if they're not trying to act like they know everything and ask a dumb question, there are no dumb questions. And the main thing, what kind of shells are you shooting and what kind of gun are you? You don't have to match everyone's shells and gun. I'm gonna have an 870 in my hand. I can tell you that. That's all I've ever had, because they pattern good with most chokes, and most shells are 870 patterns good. But just because my gun patterns good with this shot combination versus this choke doesn't mean yours is. Your barrel might be 24 inches. It might be 26. That all plays a big factor. And people think, just buy you a choke, then experiment with shells till you get the one that shoots the best pattern, or either buy you several chokes, and if you want to really spend the money, experiment with different shells, But the best thing I tell them, buy you a choke, a good quality choke, Indian Creek or whatever whatever they want to shoot. Experiment with several different types of shells. They have some great shells on the market. And I said, if y'all can't get any of them to pattern good, go buy some TSS. And I can promise you, it don't matter what type of choke you got, turkey's dead.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's what I tell them. And yeah, man, times have changed so much, and I find myself just sitting around. I guess the older you get, I'm 51, and just thinking about how good it was to sit around that old fireplace at Grandma's opening a squirrel season, opening morning a turkey season, be around that atmosphere where everyone, all your cousins are there, and we're all filled with such anticipation. I mean, you see it in our eyes. We're ready. We got that fire in our eyes because we hadn't killed a lot of birds in our life. We're listening to stories, the one that got away, the buck that got away, different names they had from, the turkeys that were very elusive and all, that roosted in the same area every year, and they hadn't killed him yet. And that means something to kids. And we need to keep that going. We need to keep this tradition going of getting the kids involved and letting them be around other people who are involved. Get them in the woods. Because, like I say, it don't matter the little things to us. If a kid shoots a spike and he is shaking, man, that brings a tear to my eye right there, even if it's a spike. Because if he hadn't killed anything before in his life, that spike is his 150.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I love taking the kids, getting them involved. Sometimes I got to, I think the worst thing you can do is tell a kid, hold on, when a turkey's coming in, and hold on, don't, yeah, go ahead, wait, go ahead. Don't do all that. You wait till that turkey gets up there and stops and say, you don't. That confuses these kids. I've seen it too many times. I've sat with people that done it, and they just want the kid to kill a turkey so bad, but they don't realize from what they're seeing over here, the angle where they're calling from is not what this kid is seeing sitting next to this tree over here.
Yep.
And I think it's better to set that kid right there. If it's a little, I'm talking about a young kid, you set him right there with you, so you're looking at, whatever he's looking at, you can see. You got him right there. And then when a turkey gets up there, shoot him when you're ready, boy or girl, or gal. You shoot him when you're ready. But that confuses them. Stop. Wait. No. Go. Then the turkey starts running. You better get him. It's just recipe for a miss. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all have seen it. But
Absolutely.
I put them between my legs, and when he gets up there and they nervous, and even my kids, they were like, Daddy, I'm scared I'm going to shoot his beard off. I said, baby, I don't care what you put it. Well, you said always put it on his head. I said, Carly, it was her first bird. I said, just shoot the turkey. And she spooled him up. She shot him in the breast, and where the breast joined the neck really didn't mess up a whole lot of breast meat, but I wasn't worried about that beard or anything, her first bird. And she's so worried about making me happy and not messing up the beard on her first bird and all. I said, you just shoot him, baby. Well, on paper, you always said shoot the neck. She put it at the bottom of the neck, got a little breast, but it was fine. She got her bird.
Yeah.
But kids is where it's at, man. And taking everything so serious, we got to stop taking everything so serious and be happy for, like in the 80s, everybody, like I was saying, everybody was happy if someone else killed a buck. We're all gathering around, everybody's popping a top, whatever. Everybody's gathered around a campfire, and it helps skin a deer. Everybody gets a piece of deer. Everybody's happy. Well, now you see people speeding off, he better not have killed the one that I let go. And I'm like, man, if y'all are in a hunting club together, it's one thing, and y'all got an agreement, y'all not going to shoot anything but 5.5-year-old deer, that's fine. But just in the government woods and just in woods in general, what someone else calls a trophy, we might not call a trophy, but unless y'all on the same page on what y'all going to shoot in the same club and everything else, and y'all have these rules, stop getting angry at other people for shooting a deer that's on their own land, because there's nothing you can do about that to start with. And if it makes them, they got that right. They just got the right to do it. To me, I manage, and I can't say it don't bother me a little bit that my 4.5-year-old deer, they make it all the way to the end of the season, and then the neighbor kills them a half a mile away. But all I say is that's a good one. That's a good one. I mean, yeah, it gets at you a little bit because you wanted that deer to live. You're not hating on them for doing that, but you wanted that deer to be your prize 5.5. And people just need to get back to the 80s when people was happy and backstrap meant something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that can be the title of the show, Andy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the memories of yesteryear. I mean, at the end of our days, let's say at the end of our days, we're us diehard hunters who grew up with daddy, their dads, their uncles, their grandpas. They all walking in the woods, and it was a way of life. At the end of our days, we're laying in that hospital bed. After we get right with God. That's the first thing. What's our mind going to drift back to? It's going to be walking down that old log road behind your daddy when you was 8 years old, and it's going to be that first owl hoot of the spring. And as daylight approaches, and you see that glimmer of from the east, that little bit of orange and yellow from the east as daylight approaches, and you hear your first thunderous gobble from that hardwood ridge. That right there is what's going to be, that's instilled in our mind as a young age. That's what the memories of yesteryear that I'm talking about is family, friends, and the outdoors. That's just my opinion. I mean, it's memories of yesteryear. All our loved ones they're no longer with us. They're looking down from that great hunting ground in the sky that you were talking about earlier, where there's unlimited, there ain't no limits up there. And to me, that's what hunting is about, memories of yesteryear.
And I think that's a great way to wrap the interview up right there, because it's you talked about kids, and the kids just want to be there. They want to be there with their dad. They want to be there with their uncle. They want to be there with their mom. They want to be there with whoever they're there with. And they just want an experience. It's, maybe it's stopping and picking up arrowheads out of a food plot or a old logging road or something where that there's arrowheads. It doesn't have to be all about turkeys. And, I think a lot of times we can break kids from wanting to hunt because we want them to be successful. And for us, that means harvesting a turkey, harvesting a deer, harvesting squirrels, when the fun is just going out and experiencing the chase and experiencing the sunrise, like you said, experiencing time with family, friends, whatever else. And so your statement really encompasses what hunting should be for all of us. It's not about posting that picture on Instagram that's going to get 1,000 likes and get you 74 new followers or whatever else, with the hopes that maybe it goes viral or maybe it doesn't. It's about the experience and going out there and having fun. Because if you're not going to go have fun out there, then go to work.
Exactly. My thoughts, you nailed it on that's it. If you don't enjoy doing it and you don't have that passion for it, save that bird for a kid or someone who would really love to harvest their first bird.
Yeah. Carl Ray, and I've enjoyed this. It's been a lot of fun.
I really have.
All right. Well, I have too, man. We can do it again anytime. And I know I tend to ramble especially when I start thinking back about Grandma's old fireplace, man. But I apologize for talking so much. And
no.
It's just my passion. I could talk turkey all day, all night. I love it. I love our great, the great game bird. it's just so many precious memories, and it come flooding back each spring when we hear that thunderous gobble.
Yeah. Well, I've said this more than once. If we have a guest on here and they don't start rambling when we ask a question or something like that, then it's not going to be a good episode. There's going to be a lot of dead air, and that's not going to make for a good audio podcast. So, man, just appreciate you taking time out and coming on here with us and sharing a little bit more about who Carl Ray is. And I've enjoyed it a heck of a lot. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Carl Ray.
I appreciate you, man. I'm sorry I didn't let you talk much. I appreciate it.
Don't apologize.
Like I say, I appreciate y'all having me. If people would just, a lot of the people that do not know me, you know, and most people, I take for granted that I say everyone knows me. Well, everyone doesn't, and they see these skits and they just, this guy's evil and all. If they would just get to know me, I am who I am. I don't and try to impress. I just hunt and work and fish, love my family and God, and like I say, and there's a lot of us out there just like that. So I appreciate y'all having me on, and if there's anything I could ever do for y'all, let me know.
We'll certainly do that. And yeah, we'll stay in touch. We'll get you back on sometime in the not too distant future.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That sounds like a great plan.
See ya. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl Ray.
Okay. All right. Later, y'all. Bye-bye.
All right, buddy. Bye.
Well, like I said, I thought it was a great interview.
Yeah. It's just, you know, he mentions in the interview that he's playing a little bit of a character on Facebook, and that we got the real Carl Ray today, and I enjoyed it.
I did too, and you know, it makes sense. Upon first glance at his page or something, I could see why people get riled up, but like, if you actually think about it, if that dude's actually out, you know, hashtag hopping fences or whatever, like, he would be the first person on earth to be caught because he's putting it on Facebook.
No doubt.
So I do agree with him to a major extent that people just get very easily offended these days, and there's not as much humor. There were parody hunting shows well before Carl Ray, such as I mentioned TK and Mike.
Yep.
And, you know, I've seen others. There was like a Real Tree guy did one, I will not poach more, and like, you know, made it kind of a joke. And it's like, it's funny. And like, if TK and Mike did a lot of the same things that Carl Ray's doing, everybody would have laughed and thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
I think he has done some things, you know, involved. I know he had a court case and all that stuff involving a game warden where he definitely brought some hardship, you know, his way through his social media posts. But overall, as a turkey hunter, the guy seems like he knows his stuff. I think he has been around and hunted a lot of wild turkey. He's in Mississippi, so he's hunted a lot of educated, hard-to-kill wild turkey. So I overall thought it was a great interview.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said about all that, and it was enjoyable. You know, I have to admit, you know, I was a little skeptical, and I was blown away.
Yeah.
Blown away. It was a great interview.
Well, I'll tell you this, if I ever see him out in public, I'll shake his hand happily. I'd be happy to have him back on the show again.
Darn right. Same here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yet again, listeners, if you come back and listen to these shows now that we're back, we do listen to you. If you want to have somebody on the show, send it to us. Because like in this case, we've had several people. We get 3, 4, 5 different people saying they want the same guy on the show. We're going to try to get that guy on the show.
Yeah.
So if you have a request, we would be very happy to get it. You might call that a favor of the week. If y'all remember, we used to do those back in the day.
Yes, we did. Yep. So yeah, we've got some things coming up. You know, here we are, and it's not going to be long. We're going to have Unicoi in January. We're going to have the NWTF Bank or Convention and Sports Show in February. So it's getting time, and it's time to be getting your game face on, really. I know a lot of you are out deer hunting and thinking about that right now, but don't blink. Santa Claus is going to have come and gone, and you're going to be sitting around with your bottom lip poked out for a couple of months until turkey season starts, but it'll be here quickly.
Yes, it will be very soon, and to everybody that's hunting, whatever you're hunting right now, there's a lot of game species open to be hunted this time of year. I hope you're having some fun times in the woods, but the real season's coming in spring. Just like Andy said, from here, we say it every year about this time of year. About this point forward, it goes fast. The time goes fast.
Yeah.
It'll be here very soon. You better be prepared and get ready to roll. The only time that goes faster than this, March through May by the blink of an eye.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah.
Well, I want to throw one thing out there real quick before we wrap it up. And I've had a few people ask me, are you guys doing the raffle this year? And so because we took such a long hiatus and my world was crazy, I didn't get a chance to set everything up for the raffle. We kind of feel like we would be doing an injustice to put this raffle on in the hopes that we could raise enough money to make donations to TFT and NWTF by the time really the middle of January rolls around. And so we have put that on pause. We'll pick that up again next year, but we're ready to rock and roll and get back to normal here. So appreciate you guys being patient with us.
Yeah. So we'll be back on our regular schedule, hopefully, and do the best we can to keep bringing y'all content. We do appreciate everybody listening. And I'm glad to be back, man. I feel like I've just had a void in my life without turkey talk.
Same here.
Find some people to talk to it a little bit about, but getting that weekly dose of just in-depth, hour-long turkey discussion, it's good for the soul.
It is. There's no doubt about that. So
well,
cool.
In typical fashion, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, let me see if I remember how to do that.
Yeah, you pull up your script off the computer?
Nah, we're going to try to wing it. Let's see. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. We know that you have choices. We appreciate you spending your time with us. We hope you have a wonderful week, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Goodbye.
Man, it's like you've done that 500 times or something. Goodbye.
Yep. All right. See you, buddy.
Yep.